From street kid to billion-dollar empire. Discover the incredible journey behind Louis Vuitton. Elijah roamed the gritty streets of his urban neighborhood, where laughter mingled with the sharp cries of sirens. The once proud leather shop owned by his family was now a mere whisper of the past, overshadowed by the weight of poverty clinging to his shoulders. At just 12 years old, he felt the responsibility of his 3 younger siblings heavy in his chest. Without his father, who had passed away in a tragic accident, hope seemed as distant as the stars, flickering but never touching the ground. Each day, Elijah navigated the unpredictable terrain of concrete and cracked sidewalks, looking for reasons to keep dreaming. He found those reasons in the weather-worn faces of veterans and the wise smiles of local matriarchs. They shared their stories of struggle with him, illuminating paths that turned darkness into strength. Their words wrapped around him like a warm summer breeze, igniting a fire deep within. It felt good to believe, to hope, even amid the chaos echoing from the streets. One fateful day, as he explored the outskirts of his crumbling neighborhood, Elijah stumbled across an abandoned leather workshop. Dust danced in the shafts of sunlight creeping through broken windows. It was here he met Mr. Johnson, a retired leatherworker whose eyes sparkled with the kind of wisdom born from years of experience. Mr. Johnson recognized something in Elijah, the raw talent and fierce determination waiting to be molded. Under the retired craftsman's patient guidance, Elijah learned not only the beauty of leather, but also the value of hard work and perseverance. The skills he honed mirrored the love he felt from his parents, constructing a bridge back to a life he feared he might never reclaim. Back at home, the walls felt thicker with tension. His mother's eyes were clouded with concern, worried that her oldest son was drifting into the temptations of street life. Elijah's dreams clashed with her fears, creating a storm brewing in their small apartment. He longed to launch his own brand, to rise above the life that seemed determined to drag him down. But the shadows grew darker when he discovered that a former friend, someone he once trusted, had stolen his designs. The betrayal cut deeper than any knife, filling him with self-doubt and guilt. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every ounce of hurt, Elijah knew he had to transform pain into power. He decided to channel his emotions into a local fashion show. As he stood backstage, heart racing, the sounds of the crowd flowed around him. The first model stepped onto the glossy runway, silence filling the air like a drawn bowstring. Would they embrace a street kid's vision? Would they see him as more than just a reflection of his hardship? As the applause thundered, he took a deep breath, realizing this was not just about him but about his entire community. The moment hung delicately in the air, charged with possibility. His dreams were alive, but could they thrive amidst the doubts that kept creeping in? Elijah took that step onto the stage, ready to prove himself, to redefine not just his future, but that of everyone watching. As Elijah stepped onto the runway, the bright lights flooded him with warmth and brilliance. The crowd's faces blurred into a single wave of expectation. Their eyes were on him, and in that moment he was no longer just a street kid. He was an artist, a creator ready to expose his soul through the canvas of leather and fabric. Every heartbeat resonated loud and clear in his ears, drowning out his self-doubt. With each model that stepped forward wearing his designs, Elijah felt a flicker of validation. The shapes and colors he had poured his heart into seemed to dance, catching the audience's gaze. Crisp lines, vibrant hues, rich textures, each piece told a story, a piece of his life woven into every stitch. Then came the moment. A model walked down the runway in an outfit that symbolized resilience. It was a combination of leather and denim, a little rough around the edges but strikingly beautiful. As she posed at the end of the runway, a hush fell over the crowd, then erupted into applause. Shouts of admiration surrounded Elijah like a comforting blanket, wrapping around his insecurities and lifting them away. But just as he began to feel that surge of pride, a shadow fell over his exhilaration. He could see his mother's worried eyes somewhere deep in the crowd, the lines of her face etched with worry. Was she proud, or was she still fearful for him? The question clawed at his mind. Despite the applause, he felt an ache in his heart, the stranger that lived beside hope. When the show drew to a close, Elijah took a moment backstage, letting the thrill wash over him. Mr. Johnson's smile was wide, reflecting pure joy. "You've done it, kid. This is just the start." His words were like a safety net, catching Elijah's spiraling thoughts. Yet deep down he feared it wasn't enough. He still had his siblings to think about, and a world filled with uncertainty awaited him. As the night moved on, congratulations rolled in from friends, old and new. He could see the glints of promise in their eyes, sparking a new fire in him. Yet, lurking in the back of his mind, the betrayal stung anew. His designs had been stolen, and though this moment was triumphant, it couldn't erase the anguish of treachery. And the following weeks, the buzz from the show fluttered through his neighborhood like a proud banner. Elijah poured himself into crafting new designs, fueled by his newfound recognition. Day by day, the visions for a brand began to coalesce. Late nights were spent stitching and sketching, every cut of leather feeling like a step toward redemption. He imagined a world where he wouldn't only rise above his past, but also uplift those around him, lighting the way for others caught in similar shadows. But then, an unexpected phone call shattered his fragile momentum. It was the local news station, wanting to feature him in a segment about young entrepreneurs. This was a golden opportunity, yet it also terrified him. What if they discovered the truth about his stolen designs? What would that mean for everything he had built, for his siblings watching everything unfold? Elijah took a deep breath, weighing options. He could hide the truth or embrace it. In that moment, he felt the burden of his choices heavy upon him. Whatever he decided could either catapult him into success or plunge him back into despair. Could he stand strong, face the music, and perhaps use this as a teaching moment, not only for himself but for those waiting in the wings of adversity? The dilemma gripped him like a vice as the phone rang again, the choice ringing in his ears louder than any applause as he clicked the screen to answer. One thought blared through his mind: was this call the start of his true journey, or a path laden with peril? Elijah steadied his breath, each inhale an attempt to gather courage. The phone felt heavier in his hand, like a weight threatening to crush him if he let it slip. "Hello?" he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hi, is this Elijah?" The cheerful voice on the other end crackled through. "This is Tasha from Channel 5 News. We're so excited to feature your story. Are you ready for this?" The word story sent a rush of adrenaline through him. It was his story, but it was marred with the shadows of betrayal. "Yes, I'm ready," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. They arranged to meet at a nearby park, a place buzzing with life. As he headed there, Elijah's stomach churned. Each step felt like a drumbeat of uncertainty. What if they found out about the designs? The pulse of dread quickened as he imagined the headlines splashed across the news. Designer's success built on stolen dreams. Arriving at the park, he spotted Tasha setting up her camera. She was young, her enthusiasm evident as she greeted him with a bright smile. "Elijah, so great to finally meet you in person. Everyone's buzzing about your designs." As they began the interview, he felt the weight of his truth pressing down. She asked about his inspirations, about his journey from the streets to the runway. The words flowed easily at first. How he discovered his passion, the late-night sketching fueled by dreams of a better life. But as they progressed, the gnawing truth clawed at him. "Could you tell us about the challenges you've faced?" Tasha's question felt like a spotlight. Instinctively, he wanted to hide, but he couldn't. Elijah hesitated, his mind racing. This moment could be powerful. He took a breath. The hardest part wasn't just about creating. It was realizing that trust can be shattered so quickly. "My designs, they were taken from me, and that hurt." Tasha's eyes narrowed slightly with empathy. "Do you feel that sharing this story will change things for others?" It was in that instant of vulnerability that Elijah felt a lift in his spirit. Yeah, I think so. If I can show others that they can rise, even when the world knocks them down, then I want my voice to be real. People need to see that we can bounce back. The interview continued, but he began to feel lighter, almost liberated. Each word was a step into the light, illuminating the darkness around his past. When it wrapped up, Tasha told him, "You have a powerful story, Elijah. This is going to inspire so many people." She smiled, and for the first time that day he believed it. There would be skeptics, sure, but standing bold amidst the chaos of his life felt like claiming his narrative. As he left the park, a rush of fear mixed with exhilaration washed over him. What if the news brought more attention, both good and bad? What if people dug deeper, uncovering the truth? But beneath that fear, there was also hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could transform this experience into something bigger than himself. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Another message from his younger sister, asking if he would be home for dinner. A smile lifted his heart. There was nothing he wouldn't do to protect his family. But just as he felt a moment of peace, another message alerted him. It was from a familiar name he hadn't expected to hear from. "Let us meet. We need to talk about that night." Elijah froze. This was the very person who had played a significant role in the betrayal. A knot twisted in his stomach as he contemplated the implications. What did they want? He took a deep breath, bracing himself for the next turn on his journey. Could this confrontation lead him to closure, or would it open old wounds? Elijah stood still, the world around him blurring. He reread the message, disbelief clawing at his insides. Could he really face this person again? Memories flooded back. Laughter turned to betrayal, bright futures dimmed by darkness. He glanced around, the park now echoing the tension building in his chest. Children played, birds chirped, and life went on, oblivious to his internal storm. The very air felt heavy, charged with unspoken words and fragile hopes. Shaking his head, he resisted the urge to turn away. Conflict was inevitable. He needed to confront the echoes of his past if he ever hoped to move forward. With shaky fingers, Elijah replied, suggesting a nearby cafe. A neutral ground, somewhere they could talk without the shadows of their old lives haunting them. As he made his way to the cafe, a flurry of emotions tugged at him. Anger and fear wrestled for dominance. But beneath it all was a flicker of determination. This meeting could either chain him to the past or sever the ties once and for all. He imagined standing tall, reclaiming not just his story but his life. Pushing open the cafe door, the smell of coffee and baked goods enveloped him. It was warm and inviting, yet his heart thundered like a drum. He spotted a familiar silhouette in the corner, tall, confident. It was Marcus, the architect of his turmoil. "Hey," Marcus greeted, his voice surprisingly calm. He didn't seem like the ghost of betrayal Elijah remembered. "Hey," Elijah replied, keeping his tone steady, though uncertainty shadowed every word. He slid into the chair opposite him. The small table felt like an ocean between them. "Thanks for meeting me," Marcus began, his gaze earnest. "I wanted to talk about everything." "Everything?" Elijah echoed, anger creeping into his voice. "You mean the stealing? The lying? That night you took my designs and sold them as your own?" Marcus looked down, shame etching his features. "I know I messed up. I've regretted it every day since, Elijah. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I need to explain." Bitterness burned in Elijah's throat. "And why should I care? You ruined my life." Marcus swallowed hard. "Because things changed. I thought I was going to be better, you know? I thought I could get away from the past. But I didn't realize how much hurt I caused until it was too late." For a moment, silence settled between them, heavy with regret. Elijah felt torn. Part of him wanted to scream, to unleash the pain he had bottled up. The other part felt a glimmer of compassion, a longing for closure. "I've built something meaningful now, something real," Elijah managed, each word a small victory. "I'm telling my story. I'm done being the victim." Marcus looked up, eyes wide with unshed emotions. "I want to help you. I have connections, resources. We could collaborate." Elijah froze, the proposition hitting him like a punch to the gut. Collaborate? After everything? Considering it felt like stepping on ground that could collapse beneath him. How can I trust you? Elijah said, his voice trembling with every word. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to make amends, Marcus pleaded. I'm not the same person, Elijah. Elijah's heart raced. This was more than just a meeting. It was a crossroads. What if I trust you and you disappoint me again? He challenged, his voice nearly choking. Marcus leaned forward, desperation mingling with sincerity. Then you can tell the world who I really am. But if you give us a chance, think about what we could achieve together. Elijah's thoughts spun. Could his desire to reclaim his narrative lead him to potentially trust the source of his greatest pain? I'll think about it, Elijah replied finally, the words tasting bittersweet. He knew he had a choice to make that could either propel him towards healing or drag him back into chaos. As he left the cafe, the weight of the world still hung on his shoulders, but his heart felt ignited with possibility. Would he dare to trust again, or had that chapter already closed for good? He felt the buzz of his phone again, a reminder that time was ticking. The path ahead was unclear and littered with risks, but he had to know, was it worth it? He wondered. Elijah stepped out of the cafe, the brisk air hitting his face like a jolt. His mind churned with Marcus's words, each one like a pebble thrown into a still lake, sending ripples through the waters of his thoughts. The late afternoon sun bathed the street in golden hues, but all he felt was the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. He walked, not really seeing the people passing by, lost in a tangle of what-ifs. What if he decided to work with Marcus? What could that mean for his career? They could create something powerful together. But the memories of betrayal simmered just below the surface, ready to bubble over at a moment's notice. The sensation of anger consumed him again. Yes, he was building a name for himself, but could he trust someone who had once taken everything from him? Elijah kicked at a small stone on the sidewalk, frustrated. It skittered away, much like his resolve felt right now as he reached a small park. He took a seat on a bench, needing a moment to gather himself. The laughter of children drifted from a nearby playground, a stark contrast to the chaos in his heart. He closed his eyes, allowing the sounds to wash over him. It reminded him of simpler times, a childhood before betrayal had marred his view of the world. Hey, is everything okay? A voice broke through his thoughts. Elijah opened his eyes, startled. A young woman stood before him, concern etched across her face. He quickly wiped away a stray tear that had escaped during his introspection. Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking, he replied, offering a faint smile. She nodded, but her eyes held a depth of understanding that caught him off guard. You know, sometimes it helps to talk about it. Doesn't matter if it's a stranger. He hesitated but felt an unexpected urge to share. I just had a meeting with an old friend. We have history, bad history. Those can be the hardest to navigate, she said wisely, sitting beside him without permission but somehow making it feel natural. You either burn the bridge or patch it up. It's tough either way. Yeah, and I don't know if it's worth risking myself again, Elijah confessed, his chest tightening. Sharing felt liberating yet terrifying. Trust is fragile, but so is hope. Sometimes, taking the leap can lead to something incredible. Elijah stared at her, struck by her words. You sound like you've been through your own battles. She smiled softly. Haven't we all? Just a little street kid named Kelsey, trying to make my way in the world. I had a friend once too. Lost that friendship to my own stupid choices. Took a long time, but I learned that sometimes rebuilding is better than starting over. Her story resonated. Elijah realized that trust didn't always come from a person's past actions, but from an understanding of their growth. Maybe I need to take a leap, he murmured, the thought sparking a flicker of resolve. Tell him how you feel, what you need. Sometimes, voicing what we fear is the first step toward freedom, she said, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. Thank you, Kelsey. I've got some thinking to do, Elijah replied, feeling lighter. She stood up, brushing off her jeans. Just remember, every end is a new beginning, and sometimes beginnings can surprise you. Watching her walk away, Elijah felt an unexpected surge of determination. Encouraged by a stranger, maybe he could try reaching for a new possibility. With newfound courage, he pulled out his phone, ready to type. Marcus, I've thought about our conversation. What if confronting his past wasn't just about pain? What if it could be about healing, rebirth, and maybe even success? But as he hit send, the phone buzzed violently in his hand. A new message flashed on the screen, twisting his gut again. Hey Elijah, it's Lisa. We need to talk about the project and some unexpected news. His heart raced. What now? Clenching his jaw, he knew whatever news awaited him might change everything. Elijah stared at the message on his screen, his heart pounding in his chest. Lisa's words hung in his mind like an unwelcome fog. What unexpected news? He took a deep breath, forcing himself to focus. He couldn't let uncertainty consume him again. He made his way back to the cafe, thoughts swirling around like leaves caught in a storm. Every step seemed heavier than the last. A part of him wanted to forget the message, ignore Lisa entirely. But the truth was, she had played a pivotal role in his career. Losing her trust would be like stepping back into the shadows. Elijah pushed the door open, the familiar aroma of fresh coffee and baked goods enveloping him. He spotted Lisa seated at their usual corner table, tapping impatiently on her laptop. Her brow was furrowed, and he sensed tension radiating off her in waves. As he approached, she looked up, her expression softening momentarily, but the seriousness returned. Hey, sorry I'm late, he said, forcing a casual smile as he slid into the seat across from her. Not a problem, Lisa replied, her eyes darting back to the screen. I was just running through some projections for the project launch. We need to talk strategy. Before he could respond, she leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Elijah, I got a call last night. You remember the investor I mentioned, the one interested in our venture? His gut twisted. Yeah, what about them? Lisa leaned back, taking a breath. They're pulling out. They found another project they like better. A wave of panic washed over him. He tried to mask it, but the shock must have shown on his face. What? But we had the proposal on their desk. Why would they? It's not just about the proposal, she interrupted, her tone firm. It's the timing. They want something fresh, something that isn't tied to old controversies. You know how it is. Elijah sank back in his seat. The grief of loss washed over him, pooling in his chest. All his efforts, all the late nights, seemed to be crumbling around him. So what do we do now? Are we back to square one? Lisa's eyes softened. Not if we don't let it. We can pivot our approach. Maybe rework the branding? He ran a hand through his hair, frustration mounting. Lisa, it's not just about branding. What if nobody wants to invest? I can't go through this over and over again. A moment of silence passed, heavy with his doubts. Finally, she spoke, her voice steady. You're stronger than you think. And look, this just means we have to dig deeper. We knew this was going to be tough. Maybe this is the push we needed. Elijah met her gaze. There was truth in her words, but the fear of past failures loomed large. He remembered the betrayal from Marcus, the partnerships that once seemed golden which now felt stained. Maybe I should reach out to Marcus again. See what he thinks, he suggested hesitantly, testing the waters. Lisa raised an eyebrow, the surprise evident on her face. You aren't seriously considering that, are you? After everything that happened? I don't know, he admitted, his voice barely a whisper. Kelsey made me think maybe facing the past could lead to something new. You're risking a lot, Elijah, she warned. But there was a flicker of hope in her eyes. You need to be sure about this. Questions swirled in his mind. Was he really ready to confront the person who had hurt him most? Was this a leap of faith or a step into the darkness? Just as he prepared to respond, his phone buzzed again. Another message, this one from Marcus. Let us meet. I think we need to talk about everything. Elijah's heart raced. This was it. A choice lay before him, fraught with risk but also potential. Could he really face Marcus again? Looks like I might have to answer some tough questions, he murmured, determination mingled with fear churning in his gut. Holding the phone tightly, he knew he stood at a crossroad. Could this meeting ignite a flame or extinguish his hopes? And as the weight of the decision loomed, he wondered, was it too late to build a bridge over the past and connect to a future he didn't dare to dream of? Elijah sat in silence, his phone still buzzing faintly in his hand. The noise of the cafe faded into the background, the chatter of voices like distant echoes as he wrestled with the decision before him. Lisa's gaze remained locked on him, watching, waiting. He could feel her unease mixing with his own. "You okay?" she asked gently, concern etched across her face. "Yeah, I'm just processing." He sighed, trying to suppress the wave of anxiety rolling through him. "I just never thought I'd find myself considering talking to Marcus again. Feels like stepping into a minefield." "Maybe it is," Lisa said carefully. "But you know him better than anyone. If he has something to say, wouldn't it be worth hearing? You can't keep running from the past." Suddenly, he could see the familiar old street corners, hear the distant laughter of kids playing in the park. He remembered standing there, breathless as he plotted dreams against the backdrop of his complicated history. Being hurt had taught him to be cautious, sometimes too cautious. "What if I get hurt again?" Elijah's voice cracked, more vulnerable than he intended. "This isn't just a business decision. It's personal. It's everything I've fought to build." Lisa leaned in closer, picking up on his struggle. "Then take control. You're not the kid from the streets anymore. You're successful and you've made a name for yourself. If you decide to meet him, go in with your eyes wide open. You're not trapped in his story anymore." Her words struck a chord, stirring up a flicker of strength he thought he'd lost. There were scars from his past betrayal, anger, loss, but there were also lessons learned and walls built high enough to protect his heart. "Okay," he finally said, resolve hardening in his chest. "I'll meet him, but I'll set the terms. No second chances. It's either put everything on the table or walk away." Lisa smiled softly, the worry lifting from her face. "That's the spirit. Just remember, this isn't just about Marcus. It's about you claiming your space in the world." With a nod, Elijah looked at his phone, fingers hovering over the screen. He typed a quick reply, arranging a meet-up at the old diner they used to frequent back when everything felt simpler. Sending the message felt oddly liberating. He glanced up, ready to share his decision with Lisa, but the words evaporated when he saw a flicker of recognition in her eyes. "What is it?" he asked, following her gaze as she looked past him, her face suddenly pale. "Look," she whispered, her voice tight. "It's him. Marcus is here." Elijah turned slowly, the world around him falling away as he locked eyes with Marcus. The years since their last encounter melted into that very moment, and all he could feel was the pull of fate. There he stood, unmoved by the years and scars, just as he remembered, yet somehow transformed. The moment hung in the air, heavy with possibility. There was so much unsaid, so much left unresolved between them. Would he find redemption or face another betrayal? "Do I really want to do this?" he thought, caught in the tension between past pain and the hope for what could lie ahead. Taking a deep breath, he steeled himself. Maybe this meeting wasn't just about business. It was about healing. And as uncertainty wrapped around him, he wondered, would facing the truth finally let him step into the future he'd always wanted? Elijah's heart raced as he took in Marcus's presence. The years since their last meeting felt like a storm locked inside a bottle, threatening to burst at any moment. The diner was dimly lit, but it felt as if the whole world had slowed down just for this confrontation. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was one of those moments that could change everything. Marcus stepped forward, a hint of uncertainty crossing his face. "Elijah," he said, his voice heavy and filled with a mix of nostalgia and regret. "It's been a long time." "Too long," Elijah replied, the words tinged with bitterness. He felt a strange pull between anger and an aching desire for closure. "You chose to disappear. You left Marcus." "I know," Marcus sighed, searching Elijah's expression. "And I'm sorry for that. When I heard you made it big, I never felt worthy to reach out. But we need to talk." Elijah clenched his fists, grounding himself. He wasn't that lost boy anymore, sitting on curbs and dreaming of success. He was someone who had built everything from nothing, who had faced monsters that could crush a person's spirit. Talk about what? Your reasons? Your excuses? You walked away when I needed you most. Why should I give you my time now? The air was thick with tension, and Lisa shifted in her seat, her eyes darting between the two. This was more than just a reunion. It felt like the beginning of a showdown, a reckoning of a friendship shattered into pieces. Elijah could sense the eyes of other patrons watching, feeling the weight of their judgment. Because I never stopped caring about you, Elijah, Marcus pleaded. You were my best friend. I made mistakes, yes, but I've spent the years regretting how things ended. I need you to understand what happened. It wasn't just about you. It was me. I was drowning, and I thought I was protecting you by leaving. Protecting me? Elijah scoffed, shaking his head. You think running away protected me? You vanished and took pieces of my past with you. I built walls high enough to hide my pain but low enough to let the light in. You saw that and still you left. The tumult of memories crashed through him, and he fought against the tidal wave of emotions. The laughter shared. The secrets whispered. The betrayal felt. How could he reconcile the past with the man standing before him now? I wanted to come back, Marcus said quietly, his voice breaking. I wanted to reach out when I could finally face my demons. But every time I thought of it, I was terrified of how you'd react. The shame held me back. Elijah's heart softened for a brief moment as he registered the raw honesty in Marcus's eyes. But forgiveness wasn't easy. What did it even look like? If you're here now, what do you want? He asked, his tone steady but laced with vulnerability. Are you looking for forgiveness? Or do you want something more? Marcus took a deep breath, the weight of his decision sagging on his shoulders. I want to make amends. I want to help you, Elijah. I've seen how far you've come, and I want to be part of the future you're building. I have connections, resources, and I can help you scale your business like never before. But I need you to give me a chance. The proposal hung in the air, a fork in the road. Restoring their broken trust or standing firm in his resolve to never let someone so close again. Every fiber in Elijah's being screamed to protect himself at all costs. You think it's that simple? He shot back, emotion cracking through. You think I can just forget the past because you've seen the light? Making amends doesn't come with promises. It comes with actions. Marcus nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. Then let us start with actions. Meet me halfway, Elijah. Just give me one chance to prove that I've changed. The diners around them resumed their chatter, but all Elijah could hear was the drumbeat of his heart. Could he risk the past haunting him again? Marcus intensified his stare, determination shining through, leaving Elijah grappling with the undeniable weight of their shared history. The cafe dimmed even more, and the world outside felt far away as they faced each other. Can you truly handle what I'm willing to offer? Marcus asked, bringing a new intensity into the air. The question spun in Elijah's head. Did he dare hope again? Was it time to rewrite history, or would the shadows of the past swallow him whole? Elijah inhaled deeply. Maybe it's not about the past anymore. Maybe it's time to see if we can build a different kind of future, but uncertainty lingered, and he knew the choice would linger far beyond this moment. Elijah's gaze locked onto Marcus's. Time slipped away, thick as honey. Each second weighted with the gravity of their shared past. The diner buzzed around them, laughter and clinking cutlery fading to a distant hum. All he saw was Marcus, the boy who had been more than a friend, who had once carved dreams in the same concrete sidewalks. What exactly do you mean by actions? Elijah asked at last, breaking the spell that hung between them. The anticipation in Marcus's eyes was almost too much to bear. I mean a partnership, Marcus said, his voice gaining strength. I've built a network in the industry. I can introduce you to key players. We can revamp your brand and take it to another level together. Elijah felt a jolt of excitement, fighting against the swell of memories that rushed forward uninvited. Success had been a solitary journey. He had fought tooth and nail to stake his claim in the world, wrestling with the shadows of his childhood. Could he really entertain the idea of going into a venture with Marcus, the one person who had vanished when he needed support the most? What happens if we fail? What if we fall apart again? Elijah's voice trembled with the weight of those memories. I'm not going anywhere this time. Marcus stepped closer, his sincerity evident. I'm here to stay, Elijah. I shouldn't have left back then. But now I'm committed. You and we always had something special. We just lost our way. The flickering candlelight cast soft shadows on their faces, revealing the cracks in their bravado. Marcus looked older, wearier, but the fire in his eyes showed a man ready to face his demons. And here he was, standing in front of Elijah with an offer. The thrill of possibility mixed with the fear of disappointment. Elijah ran a hand through his hair, trying to think clearly. The smell of coffee and fried food was thick in the air, and he could feel the world watching, almost holding its breath. Look, I can't pretend I'm not scared, Elijah admitted, his voice growing quieter. I've built walls and they protect me. But what if we really could create something amazing? A fleeting smile broke across Marcus's face. That's the spirit. We can build something that acknowledges our past but also pushes us toward a future that's brighter. Just like it used to be, us against the world. Elijah inhaled slowly, processing the weight of the moment. They could either cling to bitterness or take a leap into the unknown together. It wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about rebuilding trust. The air was charged with hope and trepidation. A dangerous blend, but one that felt electric. Okay, he said, heart racing. I'm willing to consider it. But let us be clear, this isn't going to be easy. You'll have to earn back my trust through actions, not just words. Absolutely. I'm ready for the hard work, Marcus said eagerly. Relief washed over him, sparkling in his eyes, setting the stage for something new. Just then, Lisa interrupted their moment, her voice breaking through like a beam of sunlight after a thunderstorm. Hey, you two. Are we having a business meeting or a therapy session over here? Elijah chuckled, a fresh wave of warmth diffusing the tension. A bit of both, I guess. Good. I was hoping for some excitement. Let us make some plans. Make some noise. Her enthusiasm was infectious, drawing a genuine smile from Elijah. As they resumed their conversations, sharing ideas and tentative plans for the future, Elijah felt a flicker of something he hadn't experienced in years' hope. But a part of him remained guarded. Each tentative step forward echoed with the risks of their history. Later, as the night deepened and the diner began to empty, Marcus squeezed Elijah's shoulder. This could be the start of something incredible. Are you ready? Elijah nodded slowly, feeling the familiar tendrils of fear creep in again. I'm ready to try, but if it all goes south, I won't hesitate to walk away. The words hung in the air, heavy and true. As Marcus looked deep into Elijah's eyes, the weight of their choices loomed larger than ever. Let us take that leap together then, Marcus said softly. In that moment, the future felt tantalizingly close yet terrifyingly uncertain. Could they really transform their friendship from fractured to flourishing? Only time would tell. Elijah stood at the edge of a new chapter, the winds of change swirling around him as he left the diner, flanked by Marcus and Lisa. The city's neon lights twinkled like stars fallen to earth, reflecting his own mixture of excitement and trepidation. He felt lighter, yet the flicker of uncertainty danced in his chest. Are you sure you're ready for this? Lisa asked, shooting a quick glance at Marcus, who walked slightly behind, his steps careful yet determined. This isn't just about business, it's personal. I know, Elijah replied, the weight of his truth settling comfortably among the clouds of hope that had begun to form. But we both got something to prove. It's time for us to rise together. The commitment hung in the air, heavy with promise. As they approached the vibrant courtyard filled with families and friends, Elijah felt struck by how far he had come from the boy who once wandered the streets unsure of his future. This was affirmation of not only his journey but theirs, all tied together under the same sun. The days that followed, a whirlwind of planning took shape. The trio met regularly, crafting ideas for a new line that captured the essence of resilience and creativity. They discussed fabrics, colors, and designs that blended Elijah's street-smart perspective with Marcus's polished connections. "Elijah, this envelope is 100 years old," Marcus exclaimed during one brainstorming session, holding up a piece of rich leather with its history visible in every crack. "Let us use it to show that beauty can come from the past." Around Elijah, the transformation felt palpable. Even Marcus seemed reborn under the weight of their aspirations. Yet no matter how much promise wrapped around them, Elijah was forever vigilant, acutely aware of the trust he was rebuilding step by step. "Building this together means we're not just creating a brand," Elijah told them one afternoon, his voice steady with conviction. "We're creating a bridge, a lesson for others who faced betrayal and pain." Marcus nodded, genuine respect pooling in his eyes. Elijah's words were no longer whispers of doubt. They were affirmations of the journey they had embarked on, and the stories they would encapsulate within each piece of clothing. This wasn't just about success. It was about healing as the launch date approached. The adrenaline soared. An unseasonably warm evening added to the electrifying atmosphere, a mix of excitement and nerves swirling about like confetti. The fashion show was set, and crowds were already buzzing with anticipation. Elijah could almost feel the air thickening, electricity crackling along his skin as he stood backstage, finally clad in one of his creations. He reflected on the odds he had defied, the memories of what once was melted away under the spotlight now shining on him. This moment was a kaleidoscope of opportunity, and he felt ready to showcase not just his talent, but his hopes for the future. When the lights dimmed and the first model stepped onto the stage, Elijah's heart quickened. Each model that followed glided forward wearing pieces that told stories of struggle turned beauty. The crowd gasped and cheered, applause echoing across the auditorium. But what resonated most deeply within him wasn't the sound of admiration, it was the understanding of how far he had come. Elijah stood taller, feeling the lingering shadow of his past dissipate as the applause washed over him like a warm tide. When it was finally his time to step into the spotlight, he breathed deeply and stepped out beyond the curtain. The world fell silent. All eyes drew towards him. The journey of a boy transformed into a man of vision, ready to claim his narrative. But behind him lay Marcus and Lisa, hopeful and supportive, casting a united front against an ever-shifting backdrop of uncertainty. In that moment, Elijah realized something profound. He wasn't just taking center stage to show off creations born from leather and thread. This was a celebration of profound transformation and the communal spirit that led them here. His family, the neighborhood, the wise faces and kind words from the past, they were all present in everything he had created. As the cheers erupted after his final pose, fresh tears of overwhelming joy cascaded down his cheeks. It worked. He had dared to trust again, realized that healing could live alongside vulnerability, and transformed betrayal into triumph. With a heart full of gratitude and a radiant smile, Elijah glanced at Marcus. "We did it," he mouthed, the essence of their hard work blooming before them like a vibrant bouquet. The journey they took together was rocky, but it had rooted itself firmly in the soil of forgiveness, hope, and determination. As they left the runway, arms linked, Elijah was sure of one thing: this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. And like a true American tale, it was about lifting one another up and forging a path that ignited hope where shadows once lay. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who truly need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.